Today we have some news from Royal Enfield, and this is interesting news because this is a very quiet release of the new Royal Enfield Shotgun 650. Oddly enough, this motorcycle really isn't on any of their websites.
Yeah, we've tried to look around for some photos, and if you dig deep enough, you can go on some of their social channels and YouTube and Twitter and stuff and find shots of this bike and video of this bike, but it's not officially on their website yet, but this information is officially coming from Royal Enfield, and we do know that this bike will be available here in the States at some point. So we've got all the specs, we have pictures.
Yeah, basically what they did is at their Motoverse 2023 event, they gave a close-up look at what this bike is going to be like, so we know what it's going to look like. We've got video footage of it that's put out there by Royal Enfield, and we have the specs that have been published. So this bike is going to be based off a pretty similar platform as some of their other motorcycles. So it's the Shotgun 650. And if you know Royal Enfield's lineup, you know that they have a number of other 650 motorcycles.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially with kind of a smaller manufacturer like this, the way they can sell a lot of bikes is by sharing a lot of components. It makes perfect sense. So in this Shotgun 650, you're going to get the same 648cc parallel twin that you'll see in the Continental GT 650, which you rode not too long ago.
Yep.
And also the Interceptor 650 and the Super Meteor 650, which is probably the closest sibling to this bike. You'll see that the Shotgun 650 and the Super Meteor 650 do share a lot of components.
Yeah, and let's talk about a couple specs on that motor. So it's about 46.3 horsepower, so it's not a ton of power, 38.5 pound-feet of torque. It is more of a middleweight bike. It's a 600. Not the most powerful 600 on the market, but this engine does have really good character to it, especially because this is a 270-degree parallel twin, so it has a little bit more of an interesting characteristic to the engine than a 180-degree parallel twin, which makes it a pretty fun engine to ride.
Yeah, I would love to throw a leg over this one. I wasn't here. You rode the other one around the office, right? I don't think I was here that day. One thing you want to know is that the frame is actually exactly the same as the Super Meteor 650. Some of the dimensions are a little different. So the wheelbase is shorter on the Shotgun. There's a little more ground clearance and a lower curb weight as well. So a little lighter weight. Seat height is a little bit higher on the Shotgun 650. So a lot of similarities, but definitely a little different. And they do look pretty different as well.
Yeah, when part of it looking different is that you've got an 18-inch front wheel here on the Shotgun and a 17-inch rear wheel versus a Super Meteor, which has got a 19-inch front wheel and a 16-inch rear wheel. So these wheels are a little bit more similar size, so that's a noticeable difference. You've got 43mm Showa forks on this bike, which is nice. I mean, that's good name brand components, so they're not skimping on anything like that on the suspension.
Yeah, and 43mm, that's a beefy fork too for, what is kind of a middleweight motorcycle.
Yeah, and an inverted fork, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. They're, a little bit shorter than the forks you're going to find on the Super Meteor, and just like that Super Meteor, you have twin shocks at the rear, which, unlike the front suspension, are actually a little longer than the other bike. And then looking at brakes, you have bi-brake brakes front and rear, single disc up front, so no dual discs, but you do have ABS standard and steel braided brake lines, which is nice.
Which is all really nice stuff to have. So you're getting a lot of good components, modern technology where you want it, like that ABS system. And it's also a fairly approachable seat height at 31.2, so it's not as low of a seat height as a lot of cruisers out there, something like a Honda Rebel. But it's still pretty decent even for someone that's not crazy tall. I will say, though, this is a heavy motorcycle. It's 529 pounds, which is a lot of weight, especially for a 650.
Yeah, I think we were both a little surprised when we saw that weight number, especially, I mean, the tank on this isn't huge. It's a 3.6 gallon tank. It doesn't carry a ton of fuel. It's a heavy machine for what it is, and I mean, hopefully that speaks to the build quality of it. That's really the only place my mind goes with that.
Because that's part of what makes this bike have a classic appearance and feel to it, is because they use a lot of metal on these motorcycles, and for the way that they're priced, it's impressive the quality feel of these bikes just because of how substantial everything is. But on the flip side, that will be reflected a little bit in how it tips the scales. And at over 500 pounds, there's not a lot of other 600s on the market that are heavier than that. That's up there.
Yeah, that's definitely up there. And again, we'll have to see how it feels when we actually get it out on the road and ride it, which we'll hopefully be able to do. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about that weight. I don't think it's going to be like not fun to ride or anything, but definitely worth noting. If this, this is a bike because of the price, a lot of people are going to look at as a first bike potentially, and 529 pounds might be a little heavy for some people's first bikes.
Yeah, and it depends on your build. How tall you are and how strong your legs are to stop a motorcycle from leaning. So it's certainly a motorcycle you would want to step on and, take it off the kickstand and lean it side to side and see how that feels to you, if that's something that you're worried about at all. If you're 6'5" and you can squat 600 pounds, you're going to be fine with this, even if it's your first bike. But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind.
529 pounds, I'm totally fine with now. I could do a bike way heavier than that now. But when I was starting out riding many years ago in college, 529 pounds, I would have walked away from right away and said, absolutely not doing it.
Yeah. So it's just something worth keeping in consideration.
Yeah.
Now, a few other details on this motorcycle. It's got these very classic looking round instrument dials, which is something that I love to see. But at the same time, even though it's got that as a classic element, it still has LED lighting, which we always love to see on any motorcycle.
Yeah, it's got LED lighting front and rear, which is a good lighting package too. I really like the taillight design on this. Just kind of looks high quality. I like that kind of teardrop shaped pod that comes off the back. You've got a cool removable rear seat too. So this does have passenger pegs. You can carry a passenger, but that seat easily pulls off. And then the area where the seat normally goes is actually reinforced underneath from the factory. So you don't need a luggage rack. You can strap some stuff back down there and take it on your ride.
And they're also doing a few different colors on this bike at launch. They'll have stencil white, plasma blue, green drill, and sheet metal gray. And hopefully over time, they'll add a lot more colors to that, because it's one of the things that we love with Royal Enfield. On a number of their models, they have tons of really cool color options.
And it's not even just like the paint color that's changed. Some of them are chrome tanks. Some of them have like pinstriping on them. So the designs of the paint schemes completely changed too, which, a lot of manufacturers will offer 4 different colors with identical stripes and graphics and stuff. And these all kind of have a unique look to them, which is a nice touch. Now, the pricing is not official yet. Pricing on similar motorcycles, namely the Super Meteor, is around $7,000. Somewhere right around $7,000 is a pretty good guess, and no specific confirmation from Royal Enfield on what markets this will be available in, but the good news that I've seen is that this bike has landed in the States already. A few people have ridden it out in California. I've seen pictures of it in LA. So that's a pretty good sign that we're going to get this bike here. Plus everything else they build, we have access to. So I think pretty soon we should have a new option here. Yeah, this is a motorcycle that we would really look forward to getting on and riding, because I especially love classic motorcycles, and this again very much feels like a classic motorcycle. It's just one that you can buy brand new, so you really get the best of both worlds if you're someone that's into vintage style motorcycles and you're not too worried about having the fastest bike on the block. So again, something to keep your eye out for. And even though this news came out last week, we wanted to do a video on it because it's something that, since this has been kind of a quiet reveal, not that many people are talking about, and they should be, because it's exciting. Yeah, so there you have it. Everything you need to know on the new Shotgun 650. Let us know in the comments how badly you want us to get on this bike, and let us know what other models from Royal Enfield you want to see us on. We'd love to start covering these bikes more, because honestly, I think they're really rad, and I'd like to spend some more time with them. I know you've had some close-up time with them, but I really haven't, and I'd like to. So yeah, check out alltfl.com. See you in the next one.